Hi, we're about to present the supernaturalism theory. But before we start, we are the love seeker from the engineering department. The definition of the supernaturalism.
Supernaturalism is the quality or state of being supernatural. It is a belief in supernatural power and order of existence. It has many definitions and explanations, such as follows. First, supernaturalism defines good. It is in accordance with God's ethics. It teaches that something is good because God says it. The way to lead good life is do what God wants. Second, supernaturalism and geography is the human assumption of otherworldly reality that exists outside the observable universe and humanly appears to transcend the laws of nature. Third, supernaturalism is the literature this falls under supernatural fictions. It's a genre of speculative fictions that exploits or is centered on supernatural themes, often contracting naturalist assumption of the real world. Those are some definitions of supernaturalism. Some examples of supernatural are magic, miracle, and recognition. To make it short, it asserts the existence of force beyond human comprehensions that frequently interfere, for better or worse, in human affairs.
The classification of the supernaturalism. Supernaturalism is the meta-ethical view that moral values get their value through their dependence on some supernatural facts. The most familiar version of this is a divine command theory that says a morally right action is right because it is commanded by God. What makes murder wrong is simply that it is commanded by God that we should not kill. This seems to imply that had God approved murder, it would only be morally wrong. In the Euthyphro, Plato provides the basis for an important challenge to this view. Plato and Euthyphro discusses the nature of piety, which has something to do with devotion. Perhaps religious devotion to a god or familial devotion to parent and family, or even a civic devotion to the state as exemplified in patriotism. The Euthyphro suggests that pious acts are pious because they are loved by the gods. Notice the analogy with the divine command theory. If someone suggests that a morally right action is right because God commands it, we should respond by asking why God would command it. Presumably, God does not act arbitrarily or whimsically. What does God see is an action that has Him commanding or rejecting it. So it might be that God commands all and only right actions, but that still leaves us uncertain about the answer to the meta-ethical question, what does it mean for an action to be right? Famous thinkers or proponents and opponents.
Famous thinkers or proponents and opponents. According to Hudd, people acquire their supernatural beliefs because the mechanism by means of which they detect agent is prone to hyperactivity. It detects agent where none are present. For this reason, people are inclined to interpret the rustling of leaves as caused by an animal or fellow human being rather than caused by the wind. Justin Barrett suggests this was beneficial for our ancestors because it is safer to detect too many predators than too few. Similarly, upon hearing a noise or seeing movement where no agent is to be seen, the human mind might jump to the conclusion that an invisible agent caused it. Atom is defended by Jesse Bering. He proposes that supernatural beliefs result from overacting of theory of mind. He argues that people are prone to interpret meaningful events as meaningful communication from a divine mind. The theory of mind is usually used to form beliefs about other people's mental states. It interprets outward evidence as cues about what a person is thinking or feeling. Sometimes it takes symbolic gestures as evidence. For example, a gentle tap on a shoulder can be interpreted as showing that someone feels compassion. According to Bering, the theory of mind will also interpret meaningful events as evidence for mental states. Events like beautiful sunset or the birth of a child have meaning, and meaning is intuitively connected with intentionality. Since normal people lack the power to bring these events about, the meaningful events are interpreted as symbolic gestures that indicate mental states of a greater mind, or an ultimate meaning giver.
The criticism of the theory.
Criticism in the theory. Human beings are prone to supernatural belief. Supernatural are the manifestation of the people that are into beyond laws of nature or scientific understanding. In other words, it is invisible and are naked. There are three arguments in this theory. The first one is it makes people deceived by the thought of existence of superpowers of methodological creatures to the extent that they delirious that may lead to anxiety. Another argument is the supernatural theory produce many false God beliefs. The answer cannot be simply that they are true clearly most errant. The third one, because of the different perspectives, this may cause misunderstanding in barriers. We know many beliefs are false because contradict our similar beliefs. Supernatural theory is not new in the field. However, having an overpowered belief on this theory may take a lot of consequences.
Benefits of the theory.
Good day everyone, my name is Francisco Solomon. I'm here to present to you the benefits of supernaturalism. The first is, it makes the people having a strong faith. Even God or some other saint we have not yet seen, we continue to worship them because we base on the evidence in the Bible, and sometimes what we requested to their names, we will say that they granted it, and the more wishes granted, our faith will make stronger. The second one is supernatural power have been invoked to explain phenomena. It's helped us to understand why there is such thing, how it possible happened, which leave it a question to us, and nowadays we slowly understand scientifically. The third is it makes us to become a critical thinker. Because of our curiosity, we always find an answer to what happened, even if it's natural or supernatural, and it helps us to understand where our thoughts come from. We always see the bigger picture behind a certain topic. It makes us more acknowledgeable. The last is it helps a person to become more open-minded. It helps a person to become more open-minded because nowadays, if there is a strange thing happened, people have many different speculation until it goes away from its true identity.
Application of the theory.
Application of supernaturalism on the following issue. The first one is human sexuality. Many traditional social scientists continue to hold the analytical viewpoint that divides magic from religion. By categorizing magic and religion as distinct, we underestimate the scope of women's space in religion and culture. In religion, women were portrayed as ritually and spiritually subordinate. Things feminine were usually associated with evil and witchcraft in magic. The paradigm of women's space transcends the traditional divide of magic and religion, enhancing feminine attributes in magical religious systems. Women have a unique source of supernatural power that comes from their sexuality and reproductive capabilities. This theory examines several categories of supernatural power that are uniquely feminine and help delimit the paradigm of space feminine, or women's space in religion and culture. It takes the view that as source of supernatural power, women constitute a unique spiritual resource vital to religion and culture.
Supernaturalism theory is a theory that makes ethics depend on God. The theory mainly focuses and believes that something is good because God permits it. What if God desires something that is bad? Is it going to be considered a good thing? For example, abortion. People think abortion is bad and unethical because doing abortion means you are killing something that is not yet born and preventing it to live. When you apply the theory in this thought, then yes, abortion can be considered a good thing. However, in supernaturalism theory principle, abortion is an unholy act that is not permitted by God. That makes the theory against it.
Humanism is a philosophy of life that considers the welfare of humankind rather than the welfare of supposed God or gods to be of paramount importance. Humanism maintains there is no evidence a supernatural power ever needed or wanted anything from people, ever communicated to them or interfered with the laws of nature to assist or harm anyone.
Evaluation of the theory. Owing to the prevalence of belief in spiritual beings and in the reality of some non physical events in traditional cultures like those of Africa, the orientation of the people is typically regarded as supernaturalistic. But while some anthropologists and philosophers see belief in the supernatural as irrational, others argue in ways that seem to suggest that supernaturalism limits the rational capacity of the people. Supernaturalism is sometimes used, as in the case of McIntyre and others like him, and a specific reference to belief in such notions as witchcraft and magic, which are regarded as irrational, although belief in God, Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, also counts as supernatural. The view of such scholars is that a belief in this religion is not irrational, though this view always remains curiously unstated. The belief in witchcraft or magic will be regarded as supernaturalism. In its primal sense, therefore, supernaturalism is an orientation or a disposition, and in some sense, a world view. According to H.M. Majid or Mahid, it rejects any claim of contradiction between rationality and supernaturalism. It does not argue that anything supernatural should be rational. It contends that having a supernaturalistic orientation does not preclude determining the rationality of issues, and that it is possible to understand rationality as a human attribute, but not necessarily as a product of any specific culture. And last but not the least, the questions to reflect.
These are the 5 questions to reflect on supernaturalism theory. The first question is there any possibilities that supernatural things like powers, ghosts, and miracles exist? Well, for me, I do believe that ghosts exist because when I was a child, I saw one in our house. The second question is what religions are associated with supernaturalism? There are a lot of religions that are associated with supernaturalism, and one of them is Christianity, because Christianity believes in God. The third question is why some people believe in supernaturalism and why some people do not. Maybe because those people who believe in supernaturalism has their own experience in it. And to those people who don't believe in supernaturalism, maybe because they think it is just an illusion when they experience one. The fourth question is, what is the meaning of life in the point of view of supernaturalists? I think the meaning of life in the point of view of supernaturalists is praising and serving a supernatural being known as God. The last question is, if superpower is true, how can we acquire one? Well, we all have superpowers in ourselves, like Tony Stark. His superpower is his intelligence, and with his intelligence, he built iron suits and became Iron Man. He made himself a superhero. That's all. Thank you.
So that's all about supernaturalism. I hope you've learned something and thank you for listening. Bye.